Wen Ruan instantly lost all sleepiness. She sat up in bed abruptly and asked anxiously, "What happened? Where is he injured? Is it serious?" "It's not him who's injured. Just come and we'll talk then." Wen Ruan felt a surge of anger and frustration at the thought of her younger brother. Since their father passed away, she had lost count of how many messes she had cleaned up for him. She didn't dare to delay any further. After a quick wash and change of clothes, she hailed a taxi and rushed to the hospital. As soon as she arrived at the inpatient department, she saw Wen Chengyu squatting in the corridor, looking dejected. A boy of about the same age was beside him, his arm around his shoulders, consoling him in a low voice. She noticed two men sitting not far away, probably in their 40s. They were likely the other party involved in the incident and looked menacing, clearly the type who were involved in shady dealings. Wen Ruan frowned and walked quickly to Wen Chengyu, demanding urgently, "What happened?" Wen Chengyu looked up at the sound of her voice. He was surprised to see her. "Sis, why are you here? Who told you? I didn't call you." Wen Ruan saw that he had some redness, swelling, and bruising around his eye, and his lip was slightly torn. She asked sharply, "Why were you fighting with people again this time?" "Sis, it's really not my fault this time. If you don't believe me, ask Binzi. Yesterday we were having a drink at the bar. These guys came over and started trouble, and they threw the first punch. I got desperate and accidentally stabbed someone with a fruit knife." The boy beside him nodded in agreement. "Sister, what brother you said is true. They were clearly picking a fight." "You stabbed someone with a knife?" Wen Ruan's delicate brows furrowed, her expression turning serious. Wen Chengyu knew he had gotten into trouble. He lowered his head and explained, "The doctor said it didn't hit any vital organs, so it shouldn't be a big problem. Besides, they were the ones who started it. It's not my fault." The two men walked over to Wen Ruan and the others. The man in the front was on the heavier side, and his eyes were filled with a fierce glint. He pointed at Wen Chengyu and shouted, "Kid, you think you're in the right after stabbing someone? When the police come, I'll accuse you of attempted murder. Let's see if you're still so tough after you've been in jail." Wen Chengyu met his gaze fearlessly and retorted, "You were the ones who came over and started a fight, and it was your people who threw the first punch. I was just acting in self-defense. I'm not afraid even if the police come." "Humph. You say you were acting in self-defense. Do you have any proof?" "My brother is lying in a hospital bed, and that's solid evidence." "You look so naive. You're probably still in school, right? Just wait to be expelled." Wen Chengyu's face stiffened and he replied defiantly, "Expelled? So be it. It's no big deal." To prevent the situation from escalating further, Wen Ruan pulled Wen Chengyu behind her and smiled at the two men. "Gentlemen, I'm his older sister. Young people can be impulsive. Please don't hold it against him. Let's step aside and talk." Wen Chengyu wanted to say more, but Wen Ruan stopped him with a look. He pursed his lips and remained silent. Wen Ruan invited the two men to a corner near the staircase and got straight to the point. "I can see that you two gentlemen are straightforward people, so I'll be direct. I hope you can let my brother off the hook. Whatever conditions you have, just name them. As long as I can do it, I'll agree." The heavier man snorted disdainfully. "I can tell you're not short of money, but don't look down on people just because you're rich. I don't want money. I just want the police to give my brother justice." "You've misunderstood. I'm sincerely trying to make amends for my brother's actions. I hope you can calm down. There's always a solution." Wen Ruan explained with a smile, her voice soft. The man sneered, "I have nothing to discuss with you. Let's wait for the police to handle it." Wen Ruan knew she was dealing with a tough case now. She said gravely, "I know my brother's character. He wouldn't lie. We can find out what really happened by checking the surveillance footage. You might not come out on top then either. Even if both sides are at fault in a fight, we are the victims. Your brother used a knife to stab someone. That changes the nature of the incident." A sarcastic smile appeared on the man's lips as he added coldly, "Someone like your brother, young and hot-headed, needs a lesson. You're just wasting your breath." The heavier man's attitude was firm, and Wen Ruan realized that further discussion was pointless. She had no choice but to give up. After the police arrived, they informed Wen Ruan that the bar's surveillance equipment was broken. and several customers had volunteered to testify for the injured party. On Wen Chungyu's side, only Binzi was a witness, and they were friends, which put him in a very disadvantageous position. In the end, Wen Chunyu was taken away by the police. Wen Ruan left the inpatient department with a heavy heart. As she reached the hospital lobby, she heard a gentle male voice behind her. Wen Ruan. Wen Ruan turned around and saw a man standing not far away, his hands tucked into the pockets of his blue surgical gown. He was tall and slender with deep-set eyes, a high-bridged nose, and although he was wearing a light blue medical mask, his handsome features were still discernible. Gentle, introverted, and refined, these were Wen Ruan's first impressions of him. She found him somewhat familiar but couldn't quite place him. The man walked towards Wen Ruan at a leisurely pace. Seeing a flicker of confusion in her beautiful eyes, he removed his mask, a faint smile playing on his lips. Wen Ruan, it's been a long time. At the same time, Wen Ruan's gaze fell on the tag on his clothes, which clearly read, Chief Physician Zhou Siyuan. Zhou Siyuan? Siu. Long time no see. Wen Ruan's lips curved upward, a hint of surprise in her eyes. Although Wen Ruan knew that Zhou Siyuan had returned to the country, this was the first time she had met him since his return. The last time they met was 5 years ago at her wedding with Fu Shiting. Shortly after, he went abroad to study. Compared to before, the youthful look in his eyes had faded, and he now had a more mature and composed air about him. He had changed a lot. Wen Ruan almost didn't recognize him. Yes, it's been 5 years. Zhou Siyuan's gaze lingered on Wen Ruan. Her figure and appearance hadn't changed, but her aura was different. She used to be pure, innocent, and lively, but now she seemed calm, gentle, and more mature and charming. Time could change people. Zhou Siyuan knew that Wen Ruan's transformation was all because of Fu Shiting. His eyes darkened, a flicker of doubt in them. Why are you at the hospital at this time? Is someone in your family sick? Wen Ruan shook her head sheepishly and briefly explained the situation to him. Zhou Siyuan hesitated for a moment. Wen Ruan, are you talking about the Shilin bar? Wen Ruan asked instinctively. Do you know them? Zhou Siyuan nodded. He raised his wrist and checked the time. I know the owner of Shilin bar. Wait here for me. I'll make a call and be right back. Hope flickered in Wen Ruan's eyes. She waited in the same spot and soon Zhou Siyuan returned. She saw that he had changed his clothes. He was wearing a thin light gray trench coat over a white t-shirt and jeans, with a pair of flat shoes on his feet. His simple attire gave off a gentle and soft vibe. As Zhou Siyuan approached, Wen Ruan couldn't wait to ask, How is it? Zhou Siyuan looked at Wen Ruan and replied meaningfully, I'm sorry, but I might not be able to help you with this matter. Wen Ruan's eyes dimmed, but she quickly composed herself and said lightly, It's okay. I know you tried your best. I'll think of something else. Zhou Siyuan's Adam's apple bobbed slightly. After a few seconds of silence he said, word by word, The owner of Shilin Bar is called Li Wei. I've met him a few times. He's a friend of Shiting's. From what he said, Shiting is the one who asked him to do something about the surveillance footage. A hint of surprise flashed in Wen Ruan's eyes. She quickly came back to her senses, pulling her lips into a wry smile. I've already given him his freedom and initiated the divorce. Why would he make things difficult for my family? You initiated the divorce? Wen Ruan suppressed the strange feeling in her heart and nodded. It's just waiting for his signature. Zhou Siyuan carefully chose his words. Wen Ruan, if you still care about Ting, I suggest you don't rush into a divorce. With his status and position, there are many women who have designs on him. If a woman takes advantage of this situation, there might really be problems between you two. Zhou Siyuan didn't know that Wen Ruan had been to the private room that day, so he spoke very tactfully. I already know about Fu Shiting's woman outside. Wen Ruan replied calmly. She remembered how Zhou Siyuan had spoken up for her in the private room that day, and she smiled at him. But thank you for the reminder. You're the only one of Fu Shiting's friends who respects me. Others would be happy to see me make a fool of myself. I should get going. It's late, and it's not safe for a girl to go home alone. Let me take you. Wen Ruan didn't want to trouble him, but it was indeed difficult to get a taxi at this hour, so she nodded in agreement. Thank you. It's cold outside. Take my coat. Before Wen Ruan could refuse, Zhou Siyuan took off his trench coat and draped it over her shoulders. In Wen Ruan's limited interactions with Zhou Siyuan, he was always so gentle and considerate. She pulled the coat tighter around her, smiled and teased. "Whoever marries you in the future will be very lucky." Zhou Siyuan looked at her, his eyes deep, and said nothing. They walked out of the hospital side by side and got into the car. Zhou Siyuan drove a BMW 5 Series. Wen Ruan had heard Fu Shiting mention Zhou Siyuan's family before. He came from a scholarly family and had a solid background. His grandfather was once a prominent businessman in Haicheng, and both his parents were highly educated intellectuals. He was an anomaly among their circle of second-generation rich kids. He didn't drive luxury cars, live in mansions, indulge in a life of debauchery, chase women, or gamble like the others. He was humble, low-key, and passionate about academic research. Wen Ruan was preoccupied with her brother's situation and somewhat absent-minded. Zhou Siyuan noticed her low spirits and didn't disturb her. They remained silent throughout the journey. The car stopped downstairs. Just as Wen Ruan was about to take off the coat, Zhou Siyuan spoke first. "Be careful not to catch a cold. You should wear it back." "It's okay. I'm just a few steps away from home." Wen Ruan and Zhou Siyuan weren't very close. Their previous encounters were always because of Fu Shiting. Haicheng wasn't small, but they probably wouldn't have many opportunities to meet again in the future. Zhou Siyuan saw through Wen Ruan's thoughts and asked earnestly, "Even without Fu Shiting, we're still friends, right?" Wen Ruan smiled and nodded. "Of course. Friends don't need to be so formal. I'm at the hospital on the second floor in the neurosurgery department except for weekends. You can return it to me when you have time." With Zhou Siyuan putting it that way, Wen Ruan couldn't refuse. She could only agree. "Okay, thank you." After returning home, Wen Ruan took a shower and lay in bed, staring blankly. She couldn't sleep at all and kept her eyes open until dawn. In the morning, she called Fu Shiting at the usual time. "What is it?" Fu Shiting's voice was perfunctory and cold. Wen Ruan suppressed her emotions and asked, "Did you have someone do something to my brother?" On the other end of the phone, Fu Shiting was sitting at the dining table, losing his temper. He had hired a 5-star chef, but the food was far from meeting his expectations. He was in a foul mood when Wen Ruan called. "So what if I did?" Fu Shiting replied self-righteously, without any attempt to hide it. Wen Ruan's grip tightened. She was furious. "Fu Shiting, if you want a divorce, I've already agreed. Why are you going after my family?" Fu Shiting sneered. "Who said I want to divorce you?" Wen Ruan curled her lips and slowly said, "I already know about the woman you have outside. I also know that you've looked down on me all these years. Since that's the case, why should we continue to torture each other? So, that's your reason for wanting a divorce. Either you come home or your brother stays in there for a few years. You have 2 options. I'll give you 2 days to think about it." With that, Fu Shiting hung up the phone without hesitation. Wen Ruan knew that Fu Shiting didn't want a divorce not because he cared about her, but because he was afraid that Fu Hengshan would blame him, affecting his future position in the Fu group. Wen Ruan had long been disappointed in Fu Shiting. She never wanted to go back to that home. But thinking of her brother, how could she possibly ignore him? Just as Wen Ruan was feeling conflicted and upset, Shun Man's call came in. Ruan, our team is having a party tonight. There will be a lot of handsome guys there. Do you want to join us?" Wen Ruan said dejectedly, Man, you have fun. I won't be going." Shun Man sensed her low spirits and frowned. Ruan, did something happen?" After Wen Ruan explained the whole situation, Shun Man couldn't help but curse. After cursing for a while, she adjusted her emotions and persuaded, Ruan, let's drink to the present and worry about tomorrow's problems tomorrow. Wait for me at home. I'm coming to get you." Before Wen Ruan could refuse, Shun Man hung up. Half an hour later, Wen Ruan was dragged by Shun Man to a KTV room on the 3rd floor of the night banquet. Shun Man pulled Wen Ruan to drink and play drinking games with her teammates. Wen Ruan wasn't good at it and was penalized several cups of red and white wine. Shun Man, afraid she would get drunk, let her rest on the sofa. During this time, many men came to drink and chat with her. Wen Ruan wanted to drink to drown her sorrows and didn't refuse anyone. After a few drinks, she felt a surge of acid in her stomach and felt extremely nauseous. Seeing that Shun man was having fun, she endured the nausea and staggered towards the restroom alone. As soon as she reached the corner of the corridor, she bumped into a man walking towards her. Wen Ruan was intoxicated. She squinted at the man in front of her. He was wearing a well-tailored suit pants and a white shirt, his clothes exquisite without a single wrinkle. He had a slender and well-proportioned figure, broad shoulders, and a narrow back perfectly proportioned. She suddenly thought of the man she had a one-night stand with. His physique was just as perfect. She slowly raised her head, her gaze landing on the man's face. She froze as if she had seen a ghost. It was him? The man she had slept with. Wen Ruan was about to speak when the nausea in her stomach became unbearable. She couldn't hold it in any longer and threw up all over him. After vomiting, Wen Ruan saw the vomit splattered on the man's shirt and was dumbfounded. Before she could apologize, the man's jaw tightened and he said in a deep voice, "Am I that disgusting to you?" Wen Ruan's ears instantly turned red. Seeing that he wasn't going to give a direct answer, she decided to stop beating around the bush and went straight to the point. "Were you a male model at the night event?" The man's eyes darkened slightly. In the elite circles of the capital, he was someone who could command attention, and here she was meeting him for the second time and mistaking him for a nightclub model. When Wen Ruan saw that he didn't deny it, she assumed he was silently confirming it. She hid the disappointment in her heart and looked into his dark eyes, saying seriously, "I left my bag in the private room last night. I don't have any money on me right now, but if you give me your account number, I'll transfer the money to you when I get home." The man's gaze softened, and he seemed to make up his mind. He looked at her with a gentle smile, the corners of his eyes slightly lifted. "What if you refuse to pay me back? I wouldn't even know where to find you." Wen Ruan made a sincere promise, "Don't worry, I won't back out." He chuckled softly. "Everyone says that, but plenty of people get dressed and walk away without paying." She raised her eyebrows at his words. "You've had clients who've skipped out on paying?" The man noticed the hint of jealousy in her voice and hurriedly clarified, "Of course not. You're the first woman I've been with." When Ruan thought of his vigorous performance in bed, and the expensive clothes and watch he wore, these things could only have been acquired through catering to someone else's desires. There was no way she could be his first client. People in this line of work were skilled at sweet-talking, and his words were likely just to make her feel better. Suddenly feeling a wave of frustration, when Ruan just wanted to leave, to head to the hospital for a full gynecological checkup. "Can I borrow your phone to call my friend? I need to have her bring my bag to me." The man immediately replied, "I'm not sure where my phone went last night." When Ruan frowned even more tightly. She looked down at herself. She didn't like extravagant things and rarely wore jewelry, so she had nothing she could offer him in exchange. Just as she was wondering what to do, the man suggested, "If it's convenient for you, I can go back with you to get your bag. You don't have to worry. I won't cause any trouble for you, and I won't leak any of your personal information. I'm just going back with you to get the money." Though she was unwilling, Wen Ruan couldn't think of another option, so she reluctantly agreed. The man led her through a special exit, straight to the parking lot. He drove a Mercedes G63, and Wen Ruan sat in the passenger seat, silently muttering to herself, "Looks like rich women's money is really easy to earn." The thought of him using his body to exchange for money made her want to stop thinking about him, so she gave him her home address and closed her eyes, trying to rest. She hadn't had a proper night's sleep in the past 2 days, and before long she drifted into a deep sleep. By the time they reached Ushuaia Bay, the man saw that she was sleeping soundly, her brow relaxed. He didn't have the heart to wake her up. Over the years, he had been troubled by one issue. He had trouble falling asleep and suffered from chronic insomnia. He had seen countless doctors and tried many methods, but nothing worked. He would often lie awake until dawn. Yet these past 2 nights he had slept especially well. There seemed to be something about her that made him feel at ease, as if her presence was like a calming force. He couldn't quite explain what he felt for her. In all these years, he had never been moved by any woman. Especially with the issues surrounding his parents, he had become cynical about marriage. He was afraid he couldn't be a good husband or father, so he had always firmly rejected the idea of marriage. His eyes grew darker as he sat in silence, observing her beautiful sleeping face. He had made up his mind. Since she misunderstood him, he decided to play along and keep her close. Even if they were just uncommitted bed partners, it was better than nothing. Wen Ruan awoke groggily, and when she saw him, she rubbed her sleepy eyes and said apologetically, "Sorry, I fell asleep. You should have woken me up." He put away the business magazine he had been reading and replied casually, "It's fine, I didn't mind." Wen Ruan thought of his line of work, and an unpleasant feeling rose in her chest. "Come with me." Wen Ruan got out of the car first, with him following closely behind. After entering the elevator, she initially planned to have him wait outside her door. But as soon as the doors opened, she impulsively invited him in. "Make yourself at home." He glanced around the room, easily noticing that she lived alone. His eyebrows raised slightly, so she was clearly not getting along with Fu Shitting and was likely separated from him. Suddenly in a good mood, he relaxed and casually sat on the couch with his legs crossed. Wen Ruan took out the spare phone from her drawer. "Give me your account number. I'll transfer the money." He slowly took out his wallet from his pocket and carelessly placed a bank card on the table. Wen Ruan froze. His casual manner made it seem like he was the one hiring, like he was the client rather than the other way around. She bit her lip but didn't argue. She picked up his card and made the transfer from her mobile banking app. "The 500,000 is for you. The extra 10,000 is to cover the cost of your shirt and the clothes you bought for me today. Here, check the transaction record." She handed him the phone showing the transfer. Without even glancing at the screen, he simply slipped the card back into his wallet and pocketed it. Wen Ruan found his behavior odd. If he didn't care about the money, why would he come all the way here to collect it? Yet, if he did care, he hadn't even bothered to check the transaction. And the more she looked at him, the less he seemed like a male model. He looked more like a rich second-generation heir from a prominent family. Just as she was pondering this, he spoke again, his tone light. "You've paid too much. It's usually 10,000 per session. Including the last payment, I still owe you for 98 days. Let's round it off to half a year." "Why didn't you say that earlier? Why did I have to run home and transfer you 500,000? Wen Ruan's eyes widened in frustration. "The extra money was all your idea. I'm just being kind and covering the difference for you." "Am I supposed to thank you now?" Wen Ruan snapped, irritated. "No need," the man grinned, raising an eyebrow. At this moment, Wen Ruan could only describe him as shameless. She sensed something was off and raised an eyebrow. Half a year. Did he have a math teacher who taught sports? "Starting today, for the next 6 months, my time belongs to you. If you need anything, just contact me." Before Wen Ruan could fully process his words, the man turned to her and said, "Make sure to save my number. Add me." There was a commanding aura about him, a kind of leadership that made Wen Ruan feel an involuntary urge to obey. She opened her phone and added him without a second thought. He gave her a rare smile, his lips curving up. "All right, just call me whenever you need something. I'm leaving now." Just as Wen Ruan was still stunned, the door slammed shut behind him. Looking at his retreating figure, Wen Ruan muttered under her breath, "Did I just end up accidentally supporting a male model?" Half an hour later, the man approved her friend request. Wen Ruan, curious, clicked on his profile. It was empty except for a thick black line, indicating it was probably his business account. She sighed and rolled her eyes. To him, "I'm just another client." After thinking for a moment, she opened the chat and sent him a message. "Do you have any of those messy diseases?" Wen Ruan's ears instantly turned red. Seeing that he wasn't going to speak properly, she couldn't be bothered to beat around the bush anymore and went straight to the point. "Are you working as a male escort at night banquet?" The man's eyes darkened slightly upon hearing this. He was a powerful figure in the capital's elite circle. What was wrong with her eyes? This was the second time they'd met, and she was still mistaking him for a male escort at a nightclub. Seeing that he didn't deny it, Wen Ruan assumed he was tacitly admitting it. She hid the disappointment in her heart, looked into the man's dark eyes and said seriously, "I left my bag in the private room last night. I don't have any money on me to give you. Give me your account number, and I'll transfer the money to you when I get back." The man's eyes shimmered, and he made up his mind. He looked at her with tenderness, the corners of his eyes slightly raised. What if you try to run out on me? I wouldn't even know where to find you. Wen Ruan sincerely assured him, don't worry, I would never run out on you. That's what they all say. There are plenty who put their pants back on and deny everything. Plenty? How many women had he slept with? Wen Ruan frowned and couldn't help but ask, have you encountered clients who tried to skip out on payment before? The man detected the jealousy in her voice. Afraid that she would misunderstand him, he explained seriously, of course not. You're my first woman. Wen Ruan thought about his prowess in bed and the luxury brand clothes and watch he was wearing. These were surely obtained from serving others. She was definitely not his first client. People in this line of work were used to sweet-talking. This was just a lie to make her happy. Wen Ruan suddenly felt agitated. She just wanted to leave this place quickly, and then go to the hospital for a comprehensive gynecological examination. Lend me your phone. I need to call my friend and ask her to bring me my bag. The man blurted out, I don't know where I dropped my phone last night. Wen Ruan's frown deepened. She looked over her entire body. She didn't like extravagant things and rarely wore jewelry, so she had nothing to pawn to him. Just as Wen Ruan was at a loss for what to do, the man offered a suggestion. If it's convenient for you, I can go home with you to get it. Don't worry, I won't pester you and I won't reveal your privacy. I'm just going home with you to get the money. Although Wen Ruan was reluctant, she had no other choice at the moment. She had to nod in agreement. The man took her through a special exit, leading directly to the parking lot. He was driving a Mercedes-Benz G63. Wen Ruan sat in the passenger seat, muttering to herself, it seems that rich women's money is indeed easy to earn. As soon as Wen Ruan thought about him exchanging his body for money, she didn't want to talk to him anymore. She gave him her home address and then closed her eyes to rest. She hadn't slept well in the past 2 days, and after a while she fell into a deep sleep. When they arrived at Royal Water Bay, the man saw that her brows were relaxed and she was sleeping soundly, so he couldn't bear to wake her up. For years, he had been plagued by a major problem: difficulty falling asleep and chronic insomnia. He had sought out famous doctors and tried many methods, but nothing worked. He often lay awake until dawn. Only on the 2 nights he had spent with her did he sleep exceptionally well. She seemed to have a special magic that made him feel grounded and at peace. He couldn't say for sure what his feelings were for her. He had never been moved by any woman in all these years. Especially because of his parents' situation, he had a very pessimistic view of marriage. He was afraid that he wouldn't be a good husband or father, so he had always been a staunch advocate of staying single. His eyes darkened, and after a moment of silence, he began to observe her. Looking at her beautiful sleeping face, he made a decision. Since she had misunderstood him, he might as well go along with it and keep her by his side, even if they were just bed partners with no strings attached. When Wen Ruan groggily woke up, it was already noon. She looked at the man beside her, rubbed her sleepy eyes and said apologetically, Sorry, I fell asleep. You should have woken me up. He put away the financial magazine in his hand and said lightly, It's okay. I'm not busy right now anyway. Wen Ruan thought about the nature of his work and felt an indescribable discomfort. Come with me. Wen Ruan got out of the car first, and the man followed closely behind. After Wen Ruan entered the elevator using the password, she originally intended to have the man wait outside the door once they reached her apartment. However, after getting off the elevator, she strangely invited the man inside. Have a seat. The man only glanced around the room a few times before realizing she lived alone. His brows raised slightly. It seemed that her relationship with Fu Shitting was indeed strained, and they were living separately. He suddenly felt a surge of good mood. He sat down on the sofa relaxed with his legs crossed. Wen Ruan took out a spare phone from the drawer. Tell me your card number, and I'll transfer the money to you. The man slowly took out his wallet from his pocket and casually placed a bank card on the table. Wen Ruan was taken aback. His demeanor made it seem as if he were the client and she the prostitute. She pursed her lips, not wanting to dwell on it. She reached out and took his bank card, transferring the money to him from her mobile banking app. 500,000 is for you, and the remaining 10,000 is to compensate for your shirt and the clothes you bought me today. Take a look. Wen Ruan showed him the transaction record on her phone. The man didn't even look at it and put the bank card back in his wallet, then into his pocket. Wen Ruan found him strange. If he didn't care about the money, why would he go to such lengths to come with her to collect it? But if he did care, why didn't he even glance at it? Moreover, no matter how Wen Ruan looked at him, his figure didn't resemble that of a male escort. He seemed more like a wealthy heir from a prominent family, steeped in money. Just as Wen Ruan was pondering this, the man spoke softly. You gave me too much money. It's 10,000 per time. Including the money you gave me last time, I still owe you 98 days. With a discount, that's about half a year. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Why did I have to go home to transfer you another 500,000? Wen Ruan's eyes widened in anger. You gave me the money for both times willingly. I'm just being conscientious and making up the difference for you. So I should thank you then? Wen Ruan was furious. You're welcome. The man raised an eyebrow and smiled. At this moment, Wen Ruan could only describe him as shameless. She noticed something was off, raised an eyebrow slightly. Half a year? Was this man's math taught by a P.E. teacher? From today on, for the next half a year, my time is yours. You can contact me whenever you need anything. Just as Wen Ruan was stunned, the man said to her, Take down my number. Add me. The man had the air of a leader, and Wen Ruan instinctively wanted to obey him. She obediently opened her phone, entered the string of numbers he recited, and sent a friend request. Seeing this, a rare smile curved the man's lips. All right, call me whenever you need me. I'm leaving. While Wen Ruan was still in a daze, she heard a bang as the man closed the door and left. Wen Ruan stared at his retreating figure and muttered under her breath, Did I just carelessly hire a male escort? Half an hour later, the man accepted her friend request. Wen Ruan curiously clicked on his profile picture. Apart from a thick black line, there was no other information. This was probably his work account. Wen Ruan pursed her lips. To him, she was just a client. Wen Ruan thought for a moment and then sent him a message. Do you have any of those nasty diseases? The information was quickly returned. During this half year that belongs to me, don't take on any other jobs. Otherwise, I will feel uncomfortable. Okay. Find time to go to the hospital for a full body checkup, especially in that area. Words are not enough, I want to see the medical examination report. After Wen Ruan edited the message, she thought about it, deleted it and resent it. Go for a full body checkup, keep the receipts and I will cover the expenses. This time, Wen Ruan waited for a while before the other party replied. Okay. She didn't reply to him again, and took a taxi to Haicheng's largest private hospital, Ruyan. She paid extra to register for a specialist appointment, and scheduled a full set of gynecological examinations. After she finished the examination, it was already evening when the results came out. Fortunately, all the indicators were normal and she was relieved. Wen Ruan left the hospital and decided to take a taxi back to the villa. Tonight was the deadline given to her by Fu Shiting. For her brother, she had no choice but to give in to him temporarily. Wen Ruan got into the car and opened her phone to see 5 or 6 missed voice calls from Shunman. She immediately called back. Ruan, why are you playing missing again? I got drunk last night and fell asleep in the private room. When I woke up, I found you were gone again, and you didn't even take your bag. What's going on with you? Wen Ruan roughly told her what had happened, including the matter of keeping the male model. After hearing Wen Ruan's words, Shenman on the other end of the phone was so excited that she almost jumped up. Damn! You're so awesome, girl. You did the right thing. I haven't even gotten a divorce yet, and I've already inexplicably kept a male model. Did Fu Shiting ever think of you when he was out there having fun? Why do you consider so much? Just be happy. Let's not talk about this. Ruan, have you heard? In a few days, the Pei family's matriarch will be holding a banquet in Haicheng. When Ruan raised her eyebrows slightly, the Pei family? The richest Pei family in the capital? My dad received an invitation, and the Fu family must have received one too. Your relationship with Fu Shiting is so bad. Are you still going to attend together? I heard that the mysterious and highly anticipated crown prince of the Pei family will also attend that day. It is estimated that all the dignitaries in the city will be there to kiss ass. Shun Man was still talking endlessly, but Wen Ruan's mind had already flown away. No wonder Fu Shiting had messed with her family. He must have done it for this matter. She knew him well enough after 5 years of marriage. He disdained to bow his head to her, so he used this despicable trick to force her to cooperate with him. Wen Ruan only felt that he was extremely shameless. Man, I have something to do now, let's talk later. Then what about your bag? I'll talk about it later. Remember to call my other number if you need anything, bye. After quickly hanging up the phone, Wen Ruan asked the driver to turn around and go home. At 9 o'clock in the evening, as she expected, Fu Shiting called her. You're not coming home. Are you planning to send Wen Qingyu to jail? Your sudden cold-heartedness really makes me look at you in a new light. Fu Shiting's indifferent tone was tinged with sarcasm. Wen Ruan changed her usual attitude and replied, neither humble nor arrogant. As long as you are willing to save Chengyu, I will play the role of a good wife and attend the Pei family banquet with you. You know. Wen Ruan chuckled softly. Isn't this what you did all this for? Can't be because you care about me that you want me to go home. Fu Shiting on the other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds and said indifferently, Tomorrow night, Grandpa wants us to go back to the old house for dinner, you have to cooperate. If you do it, I can do it. Wen Ruan confirmed with him again. Don't worry, he will be out tomorrow. Wen Ruan's hanging heart finally relaxed. She paused and added, You must have received the divorce agreement long ago. I hope you sign it as soon as possible. If you have any problems in the future, come to me directly. If you touch my bottom line and use my family against me again, I will never let you off lightly. Fu Shiting sarcastically said. Don't you just have Grandpa as your backer? Don't forget, no matter how much he loves you, I am his blood. Is that so? Then try me if you're not afraid. It's late, I'm going to sleep. Wen Ruan, I haven't finished speaking, how dare you hang up? Before Fu Shiting could finish speaking, the other side hung up the phone without hesitation. Fu Shiting, who had been hung up on, was instantly furious. Wen Ruan had always been obedient and submissive to him. Since she mentioned divorce, she had become like a different person. She had even learned to threaten him after being away from home for a few days. What made him even more frustrated was that he had to do as she said now. A dangerous glint flashed in his eyes. Sooner or later, he would make Wen Ruan bow her head and beg him like before. Thinking of the banquet, he calmed down for a while and called someone to deal with Wen Chengyu's matter. After signing, Wen Ruan and Wen Chengyu walked out of the detention center one after the other. Seeing that a taxi was waiting outside, Wen Chengyu asked in confusion, Sis, where's your Porsche? I accidentally bumped it earlier, and the car is being repaired. Wen Ruan said and got into the car before him. Wen Chengyu got into the passenger seat, fastened his seatbelt, and turned to smile at Wen Ruan. Thanks to my brother-in-law, my innocence was proven. I must thank him properly later. Wen Ruan lowered her eyes. Wen Chengyu was not a stable person. If she told him the truth now, he would probably go to Fu Shiting to settle the score immediately. Since the family went bankrupt and their father passed away, their mother had not been in a good state. She could only temporarily hide the matter of her divorce from them. Chengyu, you're not young anymore. You need to be more stable in the future. He's busy with work, so try not to trouble him. When Chengyu smiled and nodded, Sis, don't worry, I've learned my lesson this time. I will be cautious in my words and deeds in the future. I've already taken leave for you from school. Don't mention this to anyone, especially Mom. Sis, I know. After dropping Wen Chengyu off at school, Wen Ruan returned to Yushui Bay. President Pei, Mr. Lin from the capital has invited you to play golf. It's almost time. Cancel it. Help me schedule a full body checkup, the sooner the better. Lin Chung was stunned. The old lady was worried that his hard work would affect his health, so she scheduled a physical examination for him every year. He thought it was a waste of time and never went. And he had always been a workaholic. If the old lady hadn't forced him to come to Haicheng to rest for a few days, he wouldn't have delayed his work for even a day. He wasn't even talking about returning to the capital now. Thinking of his series of uncharacteristic changes, Lin Chung paused and asked with concern, President Pei, are you feeling unwell? He looked up and asked, Do I look sick? No, I'll make the appointment for you right away. In the afternoon, Wen Ruan wore a slightly formal pure white retro-style dress. The hem of the dress fell to her ankles. Apart from a few pearls at the neckline, there were no other decorations. The dress was both elegant and noble without being overly flashy. She put her long hair up, wore pearl earrings that matched her dress, and a pair of white flat shoes. She only wore light makeup on her fair face. She was elegant and dignified, which was the look that the Fu family elders liked. Just as Wen Ruan was about to leave, she received a picture message from that man. Wen Ruan clicked to enlarge it. It was a hospital medical examination report, which showed that the man was all normal. Before Wen Ruan could reply, the man's message came again. My body is very healthy, especially there, no dirty diseases. Use it with confidence. Wen Ruan raised an eyebrow slightly, didn't reply, and took a taxi. She first went to Shuiji and bought Fu Hengshan's favorite pastries. After packing them, she went to Suji tea house to buy tea cakes. Suji was on the route back to the Fu family's old house. She and Fu Shirting had agreed to meet there. There were too many customers at Suji, and Wen Ruan was delayed waiting in line. When she left Suji, she saw Fu Shirting's car parked by the roadside. Usually it was she who waited for Fu Shirting. It was rare for him to wait for her. In the past she might have been moved, but now she felt nothing. She carried her things and opened the back door of the car, getting in directly. Fu Shirting sat in the driver's seat, looking at her coldly. What does this mean? Do you take me for a chauffeur? Usually the chauffeur drove. Today, Fu Shirting wanted to talk with Wen Ruan alone. To avoid attention, he drove himself, but Wen Ruan sat in the back. Since we find each other annoying, it's better to maintain some distance when we're alone. Wen Ruan's tone was calm, radiating an indifferent detachment. Fu Shirting, unaccustomed to such coldness, darkened his face. Wen Ruan, don't think that just because Grandpa supports you, you can do whatever you want. Plenty of women want to be Mrs. Fu. I can replace you at any moment. I'd ask for nothing more. The air in the car instantly froze. Fu Shirting was silent for a few seconds before exploding in anger. Wen Ruan, do you think I've cared about you all these years? If it weren't for Grandpa liking you, I would have left you long ago. A woman who's been used dares to mention divorce to me? You're not worthy. When you no longer care about someone, their words become weightless. Wen Ruan deeply understood this now. Seeing Fu Shirting's true face further solidified her resolve for divorce. Fu Shirting saw that his words had no effect on Wen Ruan. He was about to say something harsher when a continuous honking came from behind. Already irritable, the honking further agitated him. Scowling, he was about to get out of the car when Wen Ruan interjected. If you don't want to be tomorrow's headlines, drive now. Wen Ruan knew his temper. Without the chauffeur, if he got out, he'd likely start a fight with the car behind. She wasn't saying this out of concern for him, purely to avoid wasting time. Fu Shirting frowned and started the car. They both tacitly remained silent. The car soon arrived at the Fu family's old house. As they entered, someone came to valet the car. Wen Ruan and Fu Shirting walked side by side into the front hall and saw Lin Wanqing sitting there. Mom, they said simultaneously. Lin Wanqing's gaze fell on Wen Ruan. Seeing her appropriate and elegant attire, she smiled with satisfaction. Mom, I bought some tea cakes and pastries for Grandpa. They're his favorites. Lin Wanqing smiled lovingly. Ruan is always so thoughtful. No wonder Grandpa loves you the most. Then, turning to Fu Shirting, she instructed. Your father and Grandpa are drinking tea in the back garden. They have something to discuss with you. Take these gifts to them. Understood. After Fu Shirting left with the gifts, Lin Wanqing took Wen Ruan's hand with a concerned look. Child, I know you've been wronged. I've already severely criticized Shirting. He won't act out again. Your father and I firmly stand by you. The position of Fu family daughter-in-law can only be yours. In the past, Lin Wanqing would never have taken this initiative. Her current stance suggested she knew about their separation. No mother-in-law would truly side with her daughter-in-law. When Ruan thought of the years she'd been deceived, feeling foolish and ridiculous. Thank you, Mom. I understand. When Ruan knew Lin Wanqing didn't want them to divorce. She didn't want any leaks before the divorce, lest Lin Wanqing become another obstacle. For now, she just wanted to play along. Lin Wanqing looked at Wen Ruan and said carefully, Wen Ruan, if you're ever wronged in the future, tell me. I will definitely stand up for you. Grandpa is old and can't handle too much upheaval, so don't bother him with these matters. Wen Ruan understood her meaning and nodded obediently without exposing her. All right, dinner's almost ready. Let's go to the back garden. Lin Wanqing had said all she needed to say. It was time to move the scene. Wen Ruan nodded and followed Lin Wanqing to the back garden. Passing the central hall, she saw Steward Zhou waiting at the door. Madam, young madam, dinner is ready. The master invites you to the dining room. Arriving at the dining room, Wen Ruan found the Fu family gathered in full force. After greeting everyone, Fu Hengshan beckoned her with a kind smile. Wen Ruan, come, sit next to Grandpa. Fu Hengshan sat at the head of the table, flanked by his two sons and their wives. The younger generation sat further down. Wen Ruan felt it inappropriate to sit beside him, but also feared displeasing him. Just as she hesitated, her father-in-law Fu Yaowen spoke. It's rare for Grandpa to see you. I'll just move down one seat. He stood up promptly, and the others followed suit, making space for her. Come, Ruan, Fu Hengshan bachkonet again. Smiling when Ruan sat beside him, Fu Hengshan asked about her well-being. Before she could answer, the steward whispered something to him. Fu Hengshan then called the men at the table and led them to the back hall. Once they were gone, Xiao Xiu looked at Wen Ruan with a smirk. Sister-in-law, we all know Grandpa favors you the most. Next time just come sit directly. Why so coy? Xiao Xiu was the only daughter of Qiao Zhenting, chairman of the Qiao Group. With two older brothers, she was pampered and spoiled, speaking without restraint. After the Wen family's bankruptcy, she hadn't missed any opportunity to mock Wen Ruan, though she was relatively restrained now, in front of the family. Xiu, your sister-in-law, wasn't being coy, but showing respect. She didn't want to take the main seat, but also didn't want to upset Grandpa. You should learn some manners from your sister-in-law. Lin Wanqing didn't particularly like Wen Ruan and had even neglected her after the bankruptcy, but that didn't mean she'd tolerate others bullying her daughter-in-law. Sister-in-law Xiu is straightforward. She doesn't think too much. She was just teasing Wen Ruan. Why take it so seriously? You're always so rigid. You should be more tolerant of young people. Zhang Lan, protective of her own daughter-in-law, retorted with a smile. Being straightforward and being rude are two different things. Tolerance and indulgence are also different. You're uneducated, but I don't blame you. Zhang Lan had been a minor celebrity, with little education and a modest background. She married Fu Yaohua solely for her beauty. Lin Wanqing, from a prominent family, naturally looked down on her. You're bringing up my background again. I know you've always looked down on me. What good are your manners when Shirting is messing around outside? Can you even control him? Lin Wanqing's face turned steely. Zhang Lan, she demanded. You can eat carelessly, but you can't speak carelessly. Shirting works diligently every day on company matters. When does he have time to fool around outside? Slandering him in front of Wen Ruan, what are your intentions? Zhang Lan met her gaze and sneered. What intentions could I have? I'm just sticking up for Wen Ruan so she isn't kept in the dark. Just because the Wen family is bankrupt doesn't mean you can bully her like this. Lin Wanqing glanced at Wen Ruan, who appeared indifferent, as if the conversation had nothing to do with her. A strange look flashed in Lin Wanqing's eyes. Zhang Lan, I see right through your schemes. You'd better rein in your little tricks, or you'll end up with nothing. My intentions are clear, unlike some people who are sanctimonious, one way in front of others and another behind their backs. Always trying to lord it over others because of their background. Lin Wanqing and Zhang Lan were like fire and water. They were experts at playing the role of wealthy socialites in public, but behind closed doors, they inevitably tore off their masks and argued fiercely. Seeing Zhang Lan's sullen face, Xiao Xiu took her arm and consoled her. Mom, even though your background isn't great, you married my dad through your own abilities, and now you have a daughter-in-law like me. She paused, adding sarcastically, my family isn't some down-and-out household. Haven't you turned a losing hand into a royal flush? You shouldn't be the one getting angry. Xiao Xiu's words were a double-edged sword, aimed at both Wen Ruan and Lin Wanqing. Lin Wanqing had long disliked Xiao Xiu's lack of manners. However, as her elder, she couldn't lower herself to her level. Jianglan, assuming Lin Wanqing was speechless from Qiao Shiyu's retort, held her hand gloatingly. Shiyu, you're right. With a daughter-in-law from a good family like you, why should I be angry? Lin Wanqing looked at Jianglan with disdain and was about to speak when Wen Ruan, instead of getting angry, laughed and spoke first. Auntie shouldn't be angry indeed. Shiyu, don't be too upset either. With your intelligence, turning a royal flush into a losing hand is quite normal. A deathly silence followed Wen Ruan's words. After a few seconds, Qiao Shiyu's eyes widened, her face flushed. Wen Ruan, what do you mean by that? Wen Ruan chuckled. Aren't you the expert at veiled insults? Can't you understand such simple words? If you're not thinking clearly, remember to eat more brain-boosting foods when you go back. Wen Ruan, how dare you mock me? The Wen family is bankrupt, and your husband is out there womanizing. I don't know how you have the nerve to mock others. Who knows, maybe one day you'll be kicked out of the Fu family. Then you'll probably... Shut up. Stop talking nonsense and making a fool of yourself. Before Qiao Shiyu could finish, Fu Jiaming stepped forward and covered her mouth. Qiao Shiyu then noticed that Fu Hongxuan and the others had returned. Scowling, she reluctantly shut her mouth. Fu Hongxuan stood nearby, leaning on his cane, his face grim. Jiaming, control your wife. If she talks nonsense again, she shouldn't come back to the old house. Don't add to my troubles. Grandpa, but sister-in-law insulted me first. I was just... Qiao Shiyu mumbled, but Fu Jiaming silenced her with a look. He then turned to Fu Hongxuan. Understood, Grandpa. I'll make sure Shiyu watches her words in the future. Seeing Fu Hongxuan's return, everyone stood up. After he sat back at the head of the table, they took their seats. Fu Hongxuan spoke sternly. The Pei family gave us 2 invitations. We agreed that your 2 families would each take one. However, this incident just now reminded me, Yaohua, your family isn't suitable to go. Let your older brother and sister-in-law, Wen Ruan and Ting, go. Fu Yaohua glanced at Jianglan and Qiao Shiyu, who lowered their heads knowingly. Fu Yaohua had made extensive preparations for the Pei family banquet, hoping to establish connections with them. He hadn't expected these 2 fools to ruin it. Although extremely reluctant, he nodded in agreement since his father had spoken. Understood, Dad. Fu Hongxuan turned to Fu Yaowen's family. For the Pei family banquet, put some thought into the gift for the old lady. She doesn't like extravagance. She often goes to temples for Buddhist practices. Don't send anything vulgar. Fu Yaowen's eyes flickered. Dad, are you old acquaintances with the Pei family's matriarch? I remember my mother mentioning that you spent a few years in the capital when you were starting your business. Fu Hongxuan remained silent. Lin Wanqing interjected. Dad is right. The Pei family is the wealthiest in the capital's circle. Their matriarch has seen everything. No matter how expensive our gift, it would be showing off. It's better to be unique and send something special, which might leave an impression on her. Fu Hongxuan nodded and looked at Wen Ruan with a loving smile. Let Wen Ruan handle the gift. This child is thoughtful, the gift she chooses won't be bad. Since Fu Hongxuan had spoken, Wen Ruan couldn't refuse. Understood, Grandpa. Qiao Shiyu glared at Wen Ruan with envy, secretly vowing not to let her off easily. After dinner, Lin Wanqing pulled Wen Ruan aside to give her further instructions about the gift before letting them leave. In the car, Wen Ruan sat in the back again, keeping a distance from Fu Shirting. Not long after they left the old house, Fu Shirting's phone rang. He put on his earphones and answered. Wen Ruan couldn't hear the other person, but Fu Shirting's tone was gentler than she'd ever heard. As the car merged into traffic, she listened quietly to Fu Shirting's tender words until they reached Yushui Bay, where he reluctantly ended the call. Fu Shirting, since you already have someone else, I don't want to hold you back. Please sign the divorce papers soon so we can part ways amicably. Wen Ruan took the opportunity to remind him again. Fu Shirting turned to look at her, his tone languid. What, are you jealous? Using divorce to threaten me? It's normal for men to play around. Isn't it good being the prestigious Mrs. Fu? Why interfere so much and cause yourself trouble? Wen Ruan looked at him calmly. Fu Shirting, you're overthinking it. I just don't want to continue with this anymore. Wouldn't it be better for us to divorce and let each other go? Seeing Wen Ruan's calm demeanor as she talked about divorce inexplicably irritated Fu Shirting. He didn't know when it started, but Wen Ruan had changed, and this change made him extremely uncomfortable. Could it be that he cared about her? He quickly dismissed the thought. How could he care about used woman? He decided it was his possessiveness acting up. When Ruan had groveled at his side for so many years, it was normal for him to find it hard to accept her sudden departure. He paused, a slight curve appearing on his lips. Forget about divorce. I won't agree. How about this, we each do our own thing. You don't care about me seeing other women, and I won't interfere with you seeing other men. When needed, we'll play the loving couple. Otherwise, we each live our own lives. I'll guarantee you a comfortable life. How about it? Wen Ruan found his words absurd and laughable. He loathed her but refused to divorce only out of fear of displeasing Fu Hongshan and affecting his position in the Fu Corporation. He loved nothing but money and status. She looked at him and asked seriously, "What if I insist on a divorce?" Fu Shiting's face instantly turned gloomy and menacing. "Wen Ruan, you should know what I'm capable of. I advise you to give up this idea." Wen Ruan understood that divorcing him would be difficult. Undeterred, she decided to follow her lawyer's advice and secretly gather evidence of his infidelity, waiting for the right moment to file for divorce. After a few seconds, Wen Ruan smiled. "You don't have to be so serious. I was just asking. Also, were you serious about the agreement you just mentioned?" Wen Ruan's sudden about-face made Fu Shiting's expression change repeatedly. He couldn't understand this woman's thoughts anymore. He scrutinized her suspiciously. "Of course. Do you agree?" Wen Ruan sighed dramatically, feigning helplessness. "Did you give me the right to disagree?" "No. Since I have no choice, I might as well accept it." Wen Ruan smiled, spreading her hands. Her casual smile made Fu Shiting lose his composure. Wen Ruan usually acted cautious and virtuous around him, which he found boring and annoying. He therefore overlooked her stunning beauty. His Adam's apple bobbed. "It's best you understand that. Don't mention divorce again." "Fine. I need an allowance. Transfer 5 million to me first. Let me experience what it's like to be kept." Since she couldn't divorce him yet, she might as well take advantage. It was better than him squandering the money on other women. Fu Shiting paused. In their 5 years of marriage, Wen Ruan had never asked him for money. He used to force money on her for living expenses. Now not only was she asking, but her appetite was quite large. "What? Are you reluctant?" Wen Ruan teased, smiling. Fu Shiting's eyes darkened. "Send me your account number later, and I'll transfer it to you." "Okay." Wen Ruan smiled, opened the car door and quickly got out. Even after Wen Ruan went upstairs, Fu Shiting remained motionless. He hadn't anticipated her change. The caged bird, once content in its confinement, now yearned for freedom, and he, the owner, suddenly didn't want to let her go. The next morning, when Ruan received the bank transfer from Fu Shiting, she smiled. Life was much more comfortable now that she had let go of him. She called Shunman and half an hour later, they were at the SKP shopping mall. Shunman linked arms with Wen Ruan, beaming. Ruan, you said you're paying for today's shopping. I won't be polite." Wen Ruan smiled. "Choose whatever you want." 2 hours later, their hands were full of shopping bags. Sitting in the lounge area drinking coffee, Shunman complained, Ruan, I can't shop anymore. I'm exhausted." Wen Ruan chuckled. "Serves you right for taking advantage." Shunman pouted. "It's Fu Shiting's money. Might as well spend it." Ruan, I've noticed that since you've gotten rid of your love-struck brain, you've become much more clear-headed. This is the Wen Ruan I knew before. You just..." Her phone rang, cutting her off. She glanced at the screen and gasped. This old man is always busy at the company, yet he still has time to keep tabs on me. My dad's calling again. Ruan, I'll take this." When Ruan nodded, her mind still on choosing a gift for old Mrs. Pei, Shunman returned shortly, looking dejected. Ruan, I have to go to the hospital immediately. My dad's been hospitalized." "What happened to your uncle? Is it serious?" "Nothing major. It's his old heart problem, probably from overwork. I have to go see him." "Should I go with you?" Shunman waved her hand. No, he likes peace and quiet. Besides, you only bought clothes for the banquet. You haven't picked a gift for old Mrs. Pei yet. That's important. Shun Man looked at the pile of shopping bags with a worried expression. Wen Ruan, I have to go straight to the hospital. Can you manage all these bags? Don't worry about me. Go ahead. Shun Man's eyes lit up. Hey, call that kept man of yours. He can carry your things and help you choose a gift. People like him are experts at pleasing others. When Ruan thought about the man's impeccable attire and sense of style, she nodded. Good idea. After Shun Man hurriedly left, Wen Ruan texted the man. I'm waiting for you in the 6th floor lounge area at SKP. Meanwhile, at the golf course, the man missed 2 shots in a row. The man beside him observed him, teasing, Well, you've been distracted these past 2 days. Are you hiding something from me? Pei raised an eyebrow. What could I be hiding? Right, the Pei family is huge. You're already at the top of the pyramid. What could you possibly be worried about? Grandma brought you back for a short stay because you're always so tense. She wants you to relax. I really don't understand you. Why not enjoy life like me? Pei remained silent, his gaze deep. Pei's assistant Chi Chang jogged over and handed him his phone. Mr. Pei, you have a message. Pei opened the screen and saw Wen Ruan's message. A smile unconsciously played on his lips. Qin Ming spoke to Chi Chang disapprovingly. Don't interrupt us when we're playing golf. Chi Chang smiled apologetically. Sorry, Mr. Qin, I wouldn't dare neglect Mr. Pei's matters. Qin Ming, is he my assistant or yours? Enjoy your game. I have to leave. Pei placed his club in Qin Ming's hand and strode away. Watching Pei leave, Qin Ming asked in confusion. Did Pei just smile after reading that message? It's the first time I've seen him like that. Xiao Qi, be honest, what's going on with your boss? Don't tell me he has a woman. Chi Chung smiled politely. Mr. Qin, as assistants, we shouldn't gossip about our bosses. If you have any questions, it's best to ask Mr. Pei directly. Qin Ming rolled his eyes. I knew it was pointless asking you. Everyone around Pei is as tight-lipped as a clam. Arriving at the 6th floor of SKP, Pei realized Wen Ruan had summoned him to be her errand boy. Wen Ruan spoke seriously. I'm attending a very important banquet in a few days. The host is a highly respected elderly lady from the capital. Ordinary gifts won't impress her. I need your help with ideas. From the capital? A highly respected elderly lady? A glint of understanding flashed in Pei's eyes. This was an open book test, asking him about his grandmother's preferences. After a moment he replied calmly, I know what to get her. Guaranteed satisfaction. Pei's swift response made Wen Ruan frown slightly skeptical. She's not just any ordinary grandmother. You're that confident. Pei raised an eyebrow, a barely perceptible smile playing on his lips. How about a wager? If she likes the gift I choose, you grant me one request. If she doesn't, I'll compensate you for your loss. What do you say? It was the first time Wen Ruan had seen him smile. Usually, he appeared aloof and reserved, exuding a chilling air of detachment. His smile softened his features, making him captivating, like a bright spring day. Seeing her silence, Pei lowered his gaze. What, are you afraid to bet with me? Wen Ruan snapped out of her daze. A bet it is. But this is important. If she doesn't like your choice, how will you compensate me? After a moment, Pei replied, Then I'll let you sleep with me for free for 3 years. Wen Ruan rolled her eyes. Aren't you a little too confident in yourself? Are you saying you'll get tired of me? Pei stared at her intently. Thinking of Fu Shiting's transformation after marriage, Wen Ruan scoffed. People change and preferences change over time. Seeing his face darken, Wen Ruan changed the subject. So, what are you planning to get her? How long will it take? 2 days. The gift is a secret for now. Should I transfer you the money for the gift? No need. Wen Ruan glanced at him. Why was he suddenly sulking? Wasn't he a model? Why couldn't he manage his emotions? A flicker of mockery crossed her eyes. She was the client. There was no reason for her to appease him. The most important thing now was the gift. To be safe, she decided to choose a backup gift as well. Wen Ruan stood up tiredly. I'm going to look around some more. Coming or not. She started walking. Despite his displeasure, Pei-yu picked up the shopping bags and followed. The handsome man and beautiful woman quickly attracted attention, with people turning to look at them. Noticing the admiring glances, Wen Ruan thought of Fu Shiting. She wondered how he would react seeing a man leagues more handsome than him. The thought brought a smug satisfaction, and her smile widened. Seeing her smile, Pei-yu's annoyance vanished. They browsed for a while, but Wen Ruan couldn't find anything she liked. Passing a high-end menswear store, she glanced casually at the window display and her eyes landed on a suit. She stopped, looking at the man beside her, thinking the suit would look perfect on him. A salesperson, seeing the elegant couple, approached them eagerly. "Ma'am, sir, would you like to come in and browse? We just received new arrivals." As Wen Ruan hesitated, the salesperson continued, "Ma'am, sir, I have to say, you two look even more dazzling than celebrities." Having spent the past 5 years as a homemaker, Wen Ruan hadn't heard such compliments in a long time. Her mood instantly brightened, and she smiled as she entered the store, Pei-yu following close behind. Wen Ruan pointed at the suit in the window display. "Please find a suitable size for him," she said to the salesperson. "Ma'am, you have excellent taste. This is a limited edition piece, the only one we have. This gentleman has a perfect physique, the size should be just right." "Good, give it to him." "No need. I have plenty of clothes." Pei-yu usually wore custom-made clothes from top designers. He naturally looked down on the clothes here. Wen Ruan assumed he was being polite. "It's just a suit. Don't worry about it. Consider it an advance thank you for helping me choose a gift." Pei-yu's eyes flickered, and he took the suit from the salesperson without another word and went to the fitting room. When he emerged, the salesperson's face lit up with surprise. "Your proportions are even better than the models. This suit is simply made for you." When Ruan looked up, the man wore the impeccably tailored dark gray suit, his tie perfectly knotted. He stood tall and elegant, every movement exuding sophistication. He strode towards her with long strides. The soft lighting cast shadows that accentuated his features. Deep-set eyes, a high-nose bridge, a flawlessly handsome face. "How is it?" Pei-yu asked, a smile playing on his lips. When Ruan stared for a moment. "It looks good," she blurted. Pleased with her reaction, Pei-yu smiled. "As long as you like it. I'm wearing it for you after all." Their eyes met, a spark of ambiguity passing between them. "Ma'am, do you think this suit is suitable for your husband?" "Husband?" Pei-yu raised an eyebrow, awaiting her response. When Ruan smiled and turned to the salesperson. "Yes, we'll take it." "All right, ma'am, please follow me." Pei-yu leaned closer, his eyes twinkling. "Wife, should I change back into my own clothes?" When Ruan played along, a playful smile on her lips. "Sure, hubby. I'll wait for you." After Pei-yu went to the fitting room, when Ruan went to the counter to pay. She noticed a cashmere scarf on display and picked a light gray one, adding it to her purchase. "Ma'am, the suit is 38,000, and the scarf is 2,700. Since they're new arrivals, there's no discount. The total is 40,700. Will you be paying by card or cash?" "Card." "Please pack the scarf and suit together." "Certainly. Please wait a moment." As when Ruan finished paying, Pei-yu emerged from the fitting room. The salesperson quickly took the suit to be packaged. The man fastened his cufflinks, and when Ruan felt as if she were under his spell. How could a man look so handsome even while fastening his cufflinks? He approached her, his gaze intense, and when Ruan blushed. She was always easily affected by him, which annoyed her. She quickly looked away at her watch. "Let's go. I'm hungry." The man raised an eyebrow, asking slowly, "What kind of hungry?" The man's casual remark made Wen Ruan blush. Glancing at the salesperson who was still carefully packing, she frowned. "Can you please not say these things in front of others?" The man stared at her, smiling ambiguously. "All right, I'll say them when we're alone." Wen Ruan felt a little dazed. Who was keeping whom? The man's gaze was like a hungry wolf ready to pounce, while she felt like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. She hadn't expected this seemingly aloof and refined man to be so privately suggestive. "I don't want to talk to you." When Ruan sat down on the sofa, turning away from him, Pei-yu found her shy, slightly annoyed expression adorable. The salesperson finished packing and respectfully handed the bag to Pei-yu, who took it along with the others. Sir, the salesperson asked politely, there are quite a few bags. Would you like me to have a colleague help you take them to your car? Pei-yu, who disliked being approached by strangers, frowned. No need. Sensing his displeasure, the salesperson gave an awkward smile. All right. She escorted them to the door, offering a professional smile. Sir, madam, please come again. Madam? Pei-yu smiled playfully. Wen Ruan glanced at him. He was so handsome. He wouldn't lack for marriage prospects after he earned enough money. She wondered if he would become a doting husband, accompanying his wife on shopping trips and carrying her bags. The thought made her feel strangely melancholic, and she lost her desire to shop further. Since the banquet was still a few days away, she decided to put the gift on hold. After they left SKP and got into the car, Wen Ruan started browsing restaurants on her phone. Frowning, she muttered, Zhouji is so hard to book. It's always full. You want to eat at Zhouji? Yes, but I can never get a table. Wen Ruan rubbed her temples and stretched. I know the manager there. Shall I ask? Wen Ruan raised an eyebrow. She had been to Zhouji a few times with Fu Shirting. The owner was from the capital and was very influential. The restaurant was just a side business. He kept a low profile and rarely appeared. The manager was also quite arrogant and difficult to deal with. Once, when they couldn't find a table, they heard the top-floor private room was available. Fu Shirting had called the manager and offered him a wad of cash, hoping he could make an exception. The manager remained unmoved, stating that the top floor was reserved for the owner's friends. Fu Shirting almost got into a fight with him. In the end, after much pleading from Wen Ruan, they were given a table on the first floor. Wen Ruan shook her head. Forget it. Even if we could get a table, it would be on the first floor. It's too noisy there. Wait. The man got out of the car to make a call without waiting for her reply. Wen Ruan didn't believe he could sway the manager and continued browsing restaurants on her phone. The man returned shortly. How about the innermost private room by the window on the top floor? Wen Ruan knew that was the best spot at Zhouji. Surprise flickered in her eyes. You got it. I've dined there a few times with a friend. He's quite close to the manager. It wasn't difficult. A friend? Remembering the manager's unyielding attitude, Wen Ruan wondered what kind of friend could have such influence. Her eyes narrowed. His friend was probably a former client. She masked her emotions and nodded. As the man drove, she looked out the window, silent. They soon arrived at Zhouji. Before Wen Ruan even reached the entrance, she saw the manager waiting. He greeted them with a beaming smile. Pei. Take us to the private room, Pei-yu interrupted. The manager, realizing his near slip-up, quickly nodded. The room is ready. Please follow me. He hurried ahead and opened the door for them. It was the first time Wen Ruan had seen the manager so obsequious. She followed him, bewildered, into the elevator and up to the top floor. Inside the private room, the manager enthusiastically recommended dishes. After Wen Ruan ordered, he made some small talk before leaving. Wen Ruan looked at the man suspiciously. He's so attentive to you. What kind of friend has this much influence? Pei-yu handed her a glass of water, his tone dismissive. Just a decent friend. Wen Ruan took a sip, a casual smile on her lips. A former client? Pei-yu paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. Can I interpret that as jealousy? Wen Ruan scoffed. I'll eat garlic, chili, and onions, but I don't eat jealousy. Pei-yu smiled silently. Wen Ruan took his silence as confirmation, an inexplicable feeling rising within her. The food arrived, and the manager personally brought a few signature dishes. He then placed a gold-plated card on the table and bowed to Pei-yu. Sir, this is our restaurant's membership card. It's not for sale and is only for the owner's friends. Next time you come, even if the owner or I am not here, you can choose any table on the top floor. I'm not close to your owner. I can't accept this. Pei-yu's voice was cold, his gaze indifferent and distant. The manager was in a difficult position. This was a direct order from his boss. He had to fulfill it. He forced himself to recite his boss's instructions. Our owner said that your presence at Zhouji is an honor. He's unfortunately in the capital on business, otherwise he would have come personally to deliver this. He hopes you'll accept it. It's simply a gesture of goodwill. He wants you to enjoy your meal here. Next time you come, he will personally accompany you. Pei Yu looked at him coldly. Can we eat in peace? The manager stared, intimidated by the man's handsome, aloof face and powerful aura. A simple sentence from him was enough to make him nervous. He regained his composure and apologized profusely. I apologize for disturbing your meal. I'll leave now. He quickly turned to go. Wait. Take the card. Yes, yes. The manager hurried back, took the card, apologized again and left. Wen Ruan looked at the man with probing eyes, a heavy silence hanging in the air. After a long time she finally asked, Who are you really?